This is the pathetic truth. I am your host, Yanexi. I am recording this with my iPhone. There are no fancy gadgets. I don't even have a microphone. So bear with me. What I have is my story that I am feeling called to tell. It's the story of my awakening, my spiritual awakening that happened 2.5 years ago. My aim is to tell my story as honestly as possible. And no frills. I want to try and recall as many things as I can and walk you through it, walk you through my feelings, my thoughts throughout my journey, what the general challenges were for me. Because my intention is really that if you're going through something similar, that you feel less alone in your experience. These kinds of things can be very scary and confusing, and I hope that by sharing my story that you will feel less alone. So I'm here in the capacity of a companion, of a fellow traveler for you, and I'm hoping that maybe you can get some validation on what you're going through. I certainly don't have any answers. I don't have a map for this. I just have a deep sense of urgency to tell my story. It's kind of like, now is the time. It's now or never. Something has really been stirring for me, and I thought maybe it will help someone. So here it is. So take a seat by me and let's have a conversation. I thought I'd share before I start. I mean, with regards to awakenings, there's different kinds of awakenings. But essentially, what happens is usually people will have an experience in their lives that completely just rewrites the script. It turns your life upside down. It feels chaotic. It tends to be very shattering to one's core beliefs, one's way of life. A lot of times people go through these things when they experience something very painful, like a loss of a loved one or some sort of tragedy or accident. I've heard that sometimes, near-death experiences, things like that. My story is a little different, but basically my life has changed dramatically in the last 2.5 years, and I am absolutely grateful for all of it. I think the Stoics call this amor fati. Just an appreciation for all of it. And I guess this is a lifelong journey. I want to tell you a little bit about my background because I think it'll be relevant. I'm in the field of psychology by trade, and I have a master's in psychology and beyond. The reason that that's important is because I consider myself a pretty logical person. I'm very analytical. I like what I can observe traditionally. I always liked what I can observe. And I tend to be very good at pattern detection. I'm quite familiar with psychological disorders and labels that we put on people that are having all kinds of difficulties. Basically the experience that I've had and experiences, because there was the initial awakening and then it's been kind of like one after the other, right? But this doesn't fit my framework. It did help me because it helped me to analyze myself, and in that sense, in that regard, a little bit of self-psychoanalysis did help me. With that said, I'm not here in the capacity to provide therapeutic advice or give you therapy or anything like that. I do think therapy is a wonderful tool and I recommend it, especially if you're going through something like this, to find someone who can help you navigate that, a professional who understands the psychological workings and who can help you navigate through that. I think is very useful, but I'm not here in that capacity. And I also want to say that in an effort to protect other people's privacy, I'm going to change names unless I have permission from like friends and family members to say their names. And I want the focus to not so much be on those people, but to be on my process, because I think that that's what will be helpful to you. I do feel very fortunate that throughout this experience, I've had others who have guided me, and it's been beautiful how these people have shown up almost exactly when I needed them to. And it's kind of like God just provided these people. He put these people on my path. And so it's so important, I feel, to have companions who understand these kinds of things. It can feel like, I kind of questioned my sanity at the beginning. I thought, am I losing my mind? And, having guides and friends that supported me and validated experiences for me, and also a therapist. These people have been just very important in validating that, no, I'm not crazy. I'm quite sane. Perhaps what I've just gone through cannot be completely explained by psychology, or at least not in a satisfying way. I am a writer. I'm a poet, specifically. This is something that came online when I came online. And what I'd like to do is every episode, I'd like to read a poem. And I thought I would read you one that's, I feel like, appropriate for this episode. It is called The Greatest Form of Love. The greatest form of love arrived unexpectedly in the autumn of my life. Like a fragrant gust of wind at the beginning of spring, it let itself in unapologetically and stirred, exposed the dark corners, dressed them in pink petals, and lit a fire to make them warmer. The greatest form of love muted the monotonous dialogue inside my head and invigorated my heart. It dethroned logic, escorted me into a world of magic, set the imagination ablaze, sparked spontaneous creativity, conferred the gift of clarity, and unveiled the falsehood of this reality. The greatest form of love was first violent and then gentle, transformative and painful. It was not judgmental or coincidental. It was the universe's reply to my secret, prolonged cry for my soul to be ignited, united with its source, to be reminded that it is unbounded and that it came to this earth to fulfill a calling, a divine purpose. And I do feel that awakenings have a purpose. I feel like it is a stirring. It is a deep stirring that we feel because, well, I am going to speak for myself. Because there was something big missing that my soul was not doing or was not experiencing. Before I had this awakening, well, I'm 47 now, almost 48. I was 45 at the time. I have a stable career. I still do. I've been in my career for many, many years. And I always felt like an underdog. And I liked it that way. I liked, my field is very good for introverts. I did not want to be in the spotlight. I just did my work. It's very kind of autonomous. And I was fine with that. I can't say that it was thrilling going to work every day. I feel like it got became very monotonous and tedious. And there's just a few years into it, and I've been doing this for almost 20 years. I felt a little, I was feeling grateful and very stable in my career, but stifled. Like there's just something else that I needed to be doing, something more. I don't feel that when it comes to purpose, I don't feel that I was really effective in fulfilling my purpose. I felt that there was something missing there. When this happened, I was married, and I was married to a very good man, very big heart. We first met when we were around 15 years old, and we went our separate ways and then kind of reunited at around the age of 30. And we started dating, and we were together for 10 years. And then we got married, and our marriage lasted about 5 years. But basically, it was a very pretty peaceful relationship, very little external conflict. We were respectful toward each other. We were like best friends. There was a lot of trust there. We lived in Miami for many, many years, and then in 2019 we moved a few hours north of Miami. And then it's like when the dust settled, because I did experience some conflicts when we lived in Miami with his family. The dynamic was tumultuous for me. In my experience, there were issues with boundaries that were never addressed. But once we moved away, it just felt like the dust was settled, and then we were able to really, I guess, in retrospect, it's like, well, now it's just about us, right? And something just, again, I felt like a stirring. In retrospect, I've been able to look at, this really started happening to me in 2020, at the end of 2020, and that's something I'll revisit in a later episode. But when this lightning bolt moment happened to me, it was right after Thanksgiving of 2023. Thinking back to what immediately preceded that, I would say a week or two before this lightning bolt moment, I was feeling like I was yearning for deep connections. Like something felt like, I just felt like I was living on the surface of something and I hadn't accessed. I felt there was an isolation. I can't say loneliness. I wasn't lonely, but I felt like there was something deeper calling, and I had this desire for deeper connections. And I said like a little prayer. I said to God, God, can you bring me some deep connections, some friends? Like I desire deep connections. Now, I also, besides that connection, there was something in me where all of a sudden I wanted to be seen. I feel like I had always been behind the scenes, and all of a sudden I just felt, I started feeling a little bit invisible and disconnected. Since I was a little girl, I was pretty shy, introverted, and afraid to speak up. And I never wanted to be called in class because that was just mortifying to be called to read in class. And generally, before this, I was a pretty anxious person, especially in groups. So I had some of that social anxiety, to say the least. And all of a sudden, I just wanted to be seen. I was very grateful. And there was this feeling of guilt almost for asking God for something else, right? Because my gosh, I recognize the blessings in my life. But again, there was a deeper stirring and I couldn't name it and I couldn't put my finger on it. It was like a little ache in my heart. Now since I was like 17, I started with fitness, and then sometimes I would go for a long time, and then I would take a hiatus, sometimes like up to a year. So I wasn't very consistent with it, but I loved lifting weights and being active. I feel like it really helped to regulate my mood, especially my anxiety. So I like other places where I've lived, when I moved, I joined a local gym, and I'd usually go in and have my headphones on and figure that's the way I liked it, get lost in my world, and enjoy the music, and just in and out of there, do my fitness, my little activities, my weights, and then just go back home. I remember there was one night I was in the parking lot. I just parked by the gym and I was walking towards it, and I was wearing all black, and it was nighttime. And somebody, I still don't really understand the significance of this, but it's just one of those little it gave me one of those little realizations. Somebody passed in their car, and they said something, and I just thought they saw me, right? It's night and I'm wearing all black and somebody saw me, and that just made me reflect on, of course they saw me. I'm a real person. I'm walking around. I'm not a ghost. But then I was like, why do I feel like a ghost? And I questioned myself, and I went in with my headphones and I was like, well, I kind of isolate myself. I'm in my world. I'm not very aware of, in a lot of these settings, I'm not very aware of other people and what others are doing. And I just figured out there's something in me. I'm like, I don't want to feel like a ghost anymore. And so God sometimes answers prayers in very unique ways. And that's what I feel that this was. It was an answer to a prayer, to an ache in my heart. It was, I believe, destined to happen. But I did make it the choice. I was offered a choice. I was offered an opportunity, and I'll speak on this later, but I said yes to that opportunity. Now, the lightning bolt moment, that came out of nowhere. That was a surprise. And that was absolutely beautiful. Like I said, it was a couple weeks after I said that prayer, and it was about right after Thanksgiving of 2023. It was like in the early evening, and I do remember what I was wearing, and it didn't dawn on me until months later. But I love sci-fi, especially Star Trek, and I have this little tank top that says a Vulcan in the streets, a Klingon in the sheets. That's what I was wearing. There is significance to that, I believe, which I will share in a later episode. But I was wearing that. I loved my little tank, and I just stepped off the elliptical machine, I think it was. And as I am walking out of the gym, I looked up. And and that was it for me. I should say I've never felt the way that I felt that day, and I probably will never feel that again, but I saw someone's eyes, the eyes of a person who was coming towards me. He had just entered the gym, and I looked up and I saw his eyes, and it was like lightning struck me. I felt that to my core. It was like I had just looked into the eyes of God. And I am perfectly aware this person is just a human being. He's not a deity by any stretch of the imagination. It's what I saw reflected in his eyes was God. I felt that I also felt, so besides it feeling like getting this feeling in my body, really, like I was struck by lightning, this shaking, this physical, just, I was shaken. I felt like I saw something divine in his eyes. But I also felt that this person saw right through me. And it was the most eerie thing and beautiful thing that I've ever experienced. I had never felt seen that way. I had never felt seen that way. It was like X-ray vision to my soul. And I have no idea. I have no idea if this person saw through me or not. And really what matters is how it felt to me. And that's how it felt. And so my prayer of being seen was answered. And as I will share with you later, so was my prayer for a deep connection. It stopped me dead in my tracks. And that's where my story began. That's where my transformation began.